The Iranian counter-revolution has now hit the streets of London. Friday night saw violent clashes between police and protesters outside the embassy of the Islamic Republic in South Kensington. Now, police say they were provoked with objects thrown at them, people scaling the building, trying to remove the flag. The protesters say they were kettled and violently pummeled by officers. Now, we're still waiting to find out exactly what happened there, but there were 14 arrests. Sunday saw a protest much more peaceful outside Whitehall. Now, they are demanding that the UK government proscribe the Islamist Republic's army, the IRGC, which they say is capable of brutal operations within the United Kingdom. Now, Iranian protesters are risking their lives to speak out about the brutal Islamic regime while the bodies continue to pile up in Tehran. Saturday night saw 2 people stabbed at an Iranian demonstration in Hamburg. Police say they're still trying to establish a motive, but video footage shows the people fallen victim to the stabbings wearing the Iranian flag associated with the country under the Shah. Iranian activist Lily Moo joins me now to tell me why the Iranian protesters not only are trying to save Iran, but they're trying to save the UK from its own Islamist threat. Friday's protests were beset with issues. There were 14 arrests, and police have said that members of the crowd had lobbed objects at them, tried to prevent arrests. Could you give me sort of your version of events and what you think happened on Friday?
The police kettled the protesters in while they were behind the barriers. There was a bit of commotion on the other side when an Iranian protester, who was a very young man actually, he tried to change the flag outside the Islamic Republic's, Iran's occupied embassy, and he wanted to put the lion and sun flag. But what unfolded was the police trying to catch him. The crowd wanted to stop that. They didn't manage. And then there was still a huge, a group of people still behind the barriers that are in place on Prince's Gate in Kensington, across the road from the estate itself, right on the wall of Hyde Park. And there's a barrier on the pavement where protesters, Iranian demonstrators, all stand there. And what the police did, they kettled them in and they pushed the barriers. So people were getting stampede. It was like a stampede was being formed, and people were trying to run up to the wall of the park even in order to escape this kettling and squashing. And then the police was already on the other side, on the lawn of the Hyde Park, behind these, the metal bars, the fence for the park. And they beat up the protesters, they assaulted them as well. And the protesters who were inside the kettled area, they were all beaten up, there was broken bones, broken faces. Elderlies were attacked, like an elderly man in his 70s. He was attacked. Iranian people have every right to demonstrate outside the Iranian embassy. And now the Met Police has put a condition there for God knows how many days where people are not actually allowed to stand there. I mean, our freedom of speech in the UK is already infringed upon, thanks to so many things I just don't want to get into right now. But what happened to the Iranian protesters who do not have access to their families right now? We don't know which one of our family members are alive at the moment. There is a complete digital blackout, and we're trying to peacefully speak and show our dismay with the occupying force that is holding our whole country hostage and our embassy hostage. We want our embassy released.
Watching the videos, I think anyone would come away thinking that the police were very heavy-handed. Now, they could argue that this is an embassy, this is that they have to guard it. You know, what would Britain look like if they didn't? But the other side of it is, it was very heavy-handed, and we don't see enforcement like that with pro-Palestine protests, which lots and lots of Brits were saying made them fearful.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, the police also followed the protesters that they sent with ambulances to the hospital, and they went and harassed them and detained them in the hospital as well once they were getting treatment, whilst they were still in the waiting area. And this is like the behavior that is imposed on or encouraged to the Met Police by perhaps some actors who are in favor of the Islamic Republic. Because shutting down conversation, shutting down expression, and shutting down assembly is the behavior and the tactics of the regime in Iran. And to have that take place here in London, in Kensington of all places, Royal Borough of Kensington, it's disappointing, it's appalling. And I must say, I'm very, very, very disappointed with
One
the
thing I
Muslims
will
for doing
say,
this.
or give you the opportunity to respond to, is that most people, I think, in this country are supportive of the Iranian people and their move to try and finally get rid of this brutal regime. But some people watch the chaos on the streets on Friday and it reminds them of how exhausted and fearful they've been from the years of pro-Palestine marches, these issues that don't affect people that live in this country, or by and large most of the people that live in this country, and they say, oh, we don't want any of these foreign.
Actually, it does
Yeah, I'm going to give you the
affect.
opportunity to say that, but
Yeah,
people look
so
at that and they go, "We don't want these
mhm.
problems from elsewhere in the world being played out on our streets. Why are we becoming the battleground for the world's issues?"
Absolutely. That's what the Iranian diaspora also wants to know. Why is it the UK government allowing IRGC operatives have good lives in the UK? Why is it that our lives that are in danger less important than the appeasement to the IRGC and their operatives in the UK? I mean, the IRGC is a dangerous and menacing force in Iran and in the international community. Why should they have the privilege and diplomatic impunity or all kinds of freedoms in the UK to operate? And the reason why we actually encourage the British nation to join us in our demand for the proscription of IRGC, which is an operating terrorist organization in the UK, is because it affects the British life. When British young men and young women are being indoctrinated in the most darkest ways through we've seen that the propaganda machine that has been at play during the pro-Palestinian movement in the UK. I mean, we have a domestic terrorist organization called Palestine Action Group that went and destroyed United Kingdom's vessels for protection. They went and destroyed and caused damage to planes during war, during the time when United Kingdom's forces were needed in surrounding the Middle East, because there was fire coming from the Islamic Republic and they could have shot us in Europe too. And to dismantle and affect the capabilities of UK defense, and then still have the privilege of occupying the lawn of the parliament or occupying the whole of the city with anti-Semitic chant after anti-Semitic chant, anti-British chant after that, and to have all of that free reign, and to have me personally arrested on 18th of January a year ago in the place where I was doing the biggest demonstration against IRGC, right in front of that stage I was arrested last year, after getting attacked by a mob of pro-Palestinians and having my property destroyed. I was arrested, and even though I had a lawyer, I was held in custody for 12 hours because I was saying Hamas is a terrorist organization, and apparently this was unappeasing and disrespectful to the pro-Hamas supporters who were present at that demonstration on the 18th of January last year. So there is this double standards for two-tier policing against freedom of expression and against Iranian people who want to have UK security at the highest standards. We have sought refuge in the UK because we wanted to feel safe and away from the terrorists who are hurting our families in Iran and who were hurting us in Iran. And to have them operating and being constantly given more and more opportunities to be hardcore and Islamist because of so-called Islamophobia protections is putting my life in danger, is putting your life and all of your viewers'
One thing
lives
I
in
was
danger. It starts,
Well, the one thing I was
sorry,
going to bring
carry
up
on.
was last week I'd done a report about a clash outside the Islamic Centre of England between pro and anti-regime groups, and so many people in the comments were shocked that there were pro-regime groups in the UK, and I imagine that would be a reason why.
That's because they don't know
Say
enough
that
about the
again.
UK. Literally, it's because they don't know enough about the UK and they don't know what's happening in Westminster. This Islamic Center is officially linked to the office of Khamenei inside of Tehran. And for United Kingdom to have paid furlough to this so-called charity of indoctrination in the UK, that is why Iranian people go and gather there. That is why I have held campaigns against that place for so long. We've taken it to the parliament, but they don't listen. Apparently, it's offensive to say people who want to harm us.
Yeah, because the Islamic Centre maintains that it's just a cultural, spiritual organisation that's a charity regulated under British law. It completely denies these ties that so many think that it has. I mean, the Policy Exchange, the Conservatives have said that they believe that these links do exist, but the Islamic Centre does deny them.
Okay, so can I just make a statement? They say Islam is a religion of peace, yet we have the highest number of dead at the hands of Muslims against Muslims in the world. I just want to make that clear. I mean, whatever comes out of the Islamic Centre is a pure bag of contradiction.
So, I mean, it's clear that clearly there is an issue in the UK, and that's why it's so important that we give you guys the ability to voice your opinions and to bring awareness to it. Now, if we move over to Iran, the protests appear to be dying down. When you speak to people within the country or they're
not at all. They're not at all dying down. They're being killed. Yeah. The protesters are being killed in Iran. The protests are not dying down. They are being killed because the bullets are hitting the faces and the chest of our children, our men and women. Bodies are piling up. Executions without trials with bullets are taking place. It's not just hanging off the cranes anymore. They don't have to waste that much labor and energy to do such a thing. It's not the 80s anymore. They love what they did on October 7th. They loved showing it off on their GoPros through Hamas. Now they're doing it in Iran, and they're doing it under a black hat. And every once in a while, they send us videos and pictures through whatever internet source they want to have, or Iranians who get access to Starlink get to send them out. We see their atrocities, and it's just holocaustal to say the least. Bodies are piling up. They are using what's it called? You know, the rubbish trucks, the refusals trucks. They're using those to carry bodies piled up. That is the situation in Iran. It's not that the protests have died down. People are chanting from behind their windows, and the security force, the IRGC forces, the proxies who speak Arabic, go into people's homes inside of Iran, and they're still attacking people. Inside hospitals, they are shooting at the heads of protesters who've been demonstrating, and they've been injured. They are killing doctors who are trying to save them. They are holding doctors, they're stopping doctors from performing their duties, even though they've sworn an oath to medicine.
Can I just give you a bit of context on what you've just said to the viewers? So there are reports coming out of Iran that many of the dead bodies have the same shot in the same place of their forehead, and a lot of them have catheters or pipes still attached to their bodies, and it's believed that that's because the IRGC are just going into hospitals and just shooting protesters in their beds.
There's video evidence of it too. There's video evidence of the IRGC attacking hospitals.
So
Iranians are really dying in order to reach freedom. And I truly appreciate that the British public is concerned regarding the sort of social unrest that's taking place suddenly in one of the most economically fruitful areas of London, such as Regent Street. What we walked through, it was a 50,000 strong march from the BBC covering the entirety of Oxford Street into Regent Street.
Why did you choose to start at the BBC?
Covered. Because the BBC is not reporting truthfully regarding Iranian death, and they have continuously promoted regime propaganda. And British public deserve to have truthful news, just like what you're doing right now, and GB News and other British media that respect truth. Why is it that the BBC, when even in the UK reporting about our demonstrations, they don't talk about the chants that are coming out of Iran? And they just call it an economic unrest, when Iranian people who are committing treason by calling out for the return of King Reza Pahlavi in their in the eye of an Iranian, he's going to be the king. It's not just the transition period of leadership. He is the official chosen unifying opposition against this regime because he is ready and because people are ready to fully deliver their freedom to themselves. The regime has done a blackout and now they're killing
And when
people. We need foreign intervention to really truly stop this regime killing Iranians because it's bullets versus
do you have an open channel?
chest
Are you speaking to people within the
and
country
the
now,
heads.
or are you still completely back
Not easily,
Okay.
no, not easily. No, we're just relying on all of the sources that are risking their lives sending Starlink because also it's come out that they're going and taking people who've been using Starlink because they have indicators of detectives seeing where the Wi-Fi is coming out, and they're going
Because
and killing
people are
people with
starting
it
to
and
leave
taking
Iran,
devices.
aren't they? I'm seeing a lot of people that I've been in contact with.
If they manage, if they manage,
Yeah.
yes. It's just like wartime. It is wartime. It's a war of a regime against its people. It's a war of an armed terrorist regime, just like the SS soldiers. Like, it's not even just like the normal Nazis who are horrible, horrible monsters and they're a stain on humanity, but it's the worst part of it. It's like the SS movement of just killing with joy and glee
What's
and showing it off. That people cannot they as they're trying to flee, they're killing
what's
people.
worrying about a regime like the Islamic Republic is that the people leading that regime believe that they've been placed there by God, and anyone who opposes them is an enemy of God,
Yes,
and that. And so,
of
if
God.
it was a regime that was mainly just there for itself and to enrich itself, it might leave when it feels that it can't win. And what's worrying about the Islamic Republic, and you can give me your opinion about this, it does seem as though they'd rather kill everyone.
Yeah, they do rather kill everyone. They've already said it. They said, we're not leaving unless Iran is Viran. Viran means ruined. Iran means prosper. Viran means ruined. And also, I have another statement to make here right now. Actually, you made a very good point. They believe they are descendants of God. In Islam, that is kufr. That is the highest form of blasphemy. When you equate yourself with the prophet, in Islam, there was the final prophet. Why is the Islamic world staying quiet as this regime is staining the Islamic rule and ideology? Not just about Sharia law that I'm talking about that they're using to destroy Iran. No, not just the fact that it's Sharia law that they're using to destroy Iran. It's the fact that they're calling themselves descendants of God in an Islamic world, where in Islam, it is called shirk or kufr, basically being an infidel, to call yourself like the prophet, or it's blasphemy to say you are a descendant of God. Yet they are committing executions against Iranians for taking actions of muharaba. Muharaba is what you just mentioned, taking a stance against God, and they're punishing people, anybody who's not with them, as if they are going against God. Why is the Islamic leaders in the world, all of these countries surrounding Iran, not saying that this is infidel, that this is shirk, and there should be
So, for
an
young
action
people
against
growing
this?
up in Iran, how are they taught to think about the mullahs and the ayatollah? What's the message that they get? What's the narrative?
They have their elite radicalized group of fanatics who are willing to kill their own children even to serve the regime. They are like the cult, fully brainwashed crazies. Those guys we already know about. But then there is the rest of the country, which is like 90% of Iran, who truly, truly hate this regime. They know what freedom is. They know what Persian culture is. And because, like, for example, when a schoolgirl for the first time goes to school, she has to be put in a uniform. She's a child. She has to be put in a hijabi uniform. And they hate it. I hated it. Everybody else in my class hated it. And we had to be punished for hating it. And we were told that we are protecting our bodies, and because by the time we become 9, we could be somebody's wife. And imagine they say that to us in school. And then Iran and Iran society, every day in the houses, mothers and fathers have to like unravel, like undo the brainwashing.
Right. And how are you taught to think about the Ayatollah? Is he framed as this messenger from God?
He's the evil guy.
No, I know, but
Everybody hates him. No, everybody hates him. Everyone in Iran. So like even in school, so when you live under a dictatorship that is completely totalitarian, you have one form of behavior in public and one form of behavior in private. In private, under the skin of the outside umbrella pretense, everybody's disgusted by this regime. Every household is disgusted. Every child is afraid of the mullahs. They look like the ones who kill. We all know that they kill. They promote killing. And it's not just the clerics are not bloodied hand because they're clerics. No, the clerics are the judges. The clerics are the ones who are reading these Sharia laws for them or creating them and pushing for it. The clerics love to live for free. This is like every aspect of Iranians' lives is infiltrated by this regime. And their safety is compromised.
In order to then...
Not just compromised, it's done. There is no safety in Iran at the moment. And there's no safety outside of Iran for the diaspora. Like all of the diaspora members who came into the streets of London and other cities, our families are being questioned in Iran. We don't know what's going to happen to our families. For us doing, me holding a stage, I don't know if my family are going to stay alive by the end of tonight. But we still have to fight. So what is our blood more red than the rest of Iranians who are dying for their freedom? No, we fight together. But this regime will go. This regime has to be kicked out of the UK. This regime has to be held accountable by the Labour government that is allowing them to do whatever it is that they want.
And we saw over the weekend, I'm not sure if you're aware, I'm sure you will be, there was a stabbing at a anti-regime march in Germany. Did you? So
yes, I saw that. An Afghan man
just goes
attacked
to
Iranians.
prove that even outside of Iran, you really are risking a lot.
Yes.
Shocking.
Absolutely. We're not safe outside of Iran because of this
And you
regime.
mentioned earlier when we spoke about how you wanted foreign intervention in order to try and topple the regime. Are Iranians disappointed by the... I mean, weeks have gone by now and nothing's happened.
We are crying that President Donald Trump hasn't taken action yet. I mean, the kinetic action or necessary, or at least destroy their infrastructure. Do something. We get it. Venezuela is being freed and you have your hands full, but taking 2 mega dictators at the same time, please pay attention to Iran too. Iranians need to feel that liberation that the Venezuelans felt. They are crying for it. They're dying for it. They're bleeding for it. And Iranians have a leader. Show allyship to the Crown Prince. Empty out the embassies from the Islamic Republic and call in our transition government from exile and have us ready to go home. This is all possible. International law is there for in place for that reason. And this whole concept about the Vienna Convention for protecting embassies, let's not forget, while the children of Holocaust victims were being pushed into trains to come to the UK for safety, Nazi Germany still had an embassy here. What's going to happen? Did they not? How long was the Nazi Germany even operating? Is that even like a thing? I'm just wondering, right? I'm just like so frustrated with this concept. Like, what was that? So were the Holocaust children coming to the UK while Nazis were operating in their German embassy in Euston Square, like not in Belgravia, just having parties and champagne? What is going on here? There has to be a standard in the UK. We cannot have mullahs coming and living and their children having impunity. Their children setting up business here in the UK, while our children have bullets in their bodies, and they're saying to the parents, you have to pay $7 to $10,000. Now imagine the Iranian value, real is zero right now, to get that body, and they have to give them a box of sweets. And they have to accept that they're going to give them a Basij card to say that the protesters killed a Basiji, and this person that they are taking home, they're going to take them to burials, that was a Basiji. They are kidnapping our dead and giving them a fake new identity to say it was their own victims. So we can't have an embassy for the Islamic Republic in the UK. Iranian people do have a right to demonstrate outside the occupied embassy of Iran in Kensington. And what Sadiq Khan did and what the commissioner of the police did was appeasing the will of the Islamic Republic. And that is why we say, when we say this behavior reminds us of IRGC, it's not to diminish the fact that Iranian people are being killed by the bullets of IRGC and our people were just here beaten by just some baton. It's not to equate the two, it's to say that the will of the regime is being carried out here in the UK against Iranian diaspora members. And we are also British, let's not forget. We have assimilated, we have chosen to pledge allegiance for the security of this country. We owe our safety to the sanctuary that we've been given, and we respect it. And we can't have the host country be poisoned by those who wanted to kill us. And that is why so many British, wise, sound British people came and showed unity with us yesterday. It wasn't just Iranian diaspora members. The day before, it was mostly. On Saturday, yes. Saturdays, ever since Mahsa Amini was killed and the national uprising was sparked in Iran in 2022, Iranian people gathered, including myself, relentlessly fighting this regime. Every day I was campaigning outside in Westminster and Trafalgar Square. But on Saturdays, it was our healing moment and gathering together to talk about what's happening in Iran, because the media wasn't covering it. BBC wasn't covering it. BBC was putting false information out there. When Hadis Najafi was shot dead, the BBC put out a few reports showing another girl who is alive. And then Hadis Najafi's family had to come forward and say, why are you lying?
You paint a very worrying picture.
Well, I am worried for the UK. I almost became a British refugee in the United States because my life is compromised and in danger in the UK. And when I was in America during that time when I was in hiding, I had to contemplate whether or not I want to fight from exile for Iran and England now, also from exile, or am I gonna gather my might, go back home, claim London, and stop IRGC in London? Because I've been given life here. I have a duty to the British friends and hosts and family that I have here. I cannot just allow the regime who pushed me out of Iran, pushed me out of the UK and my sanctuary too, just because they managed to get there.
So you believe that
the risk I chose,
the Islamic Republic has the capability to carry out any operations that it wants to against?
This regime is right here, my friend. Either we do something about it, call it out, hold them accountable, or suffer the consequences. But I tell you one thing, Iran will be free, Iranians will be free. And just as United Kingdom hosted us, I pray that day will never come that a British person will have to be a refugee, but we will always open our doors to you guys. In a free Iran, hopefully that regime will not set foot here. Do not allow these regime members become refugees in Europe. You cannot hug terrorism out of a suicide bomber. I've said this time and time again. Don't do it. Just don't. It's not about, it's like people say it's human rights, but they are abusing human rights. Why should a person who has violated so much life, so much nature, so much humanity be given human rights luxuries? The most they should get from human rights is a cell in a prison after they've been tried and see justice. That's as far as human rights should go for these monsters. But don't give them sanctuary in Europe. Don't give them sanctuary in the United Kingdom.
Yeah. And Lily, will your protests continue in London then?
If I will have support. So let me just explain something. The pro-Pali demonstrations that were taking place every single week in London, they cost many hundreds of thousands of pounds. It's like throwing a concert, but for free, with PR campaign posters too. So the stage alone is about 50,000. The sizes that they do 50 to 100,000. And then there is the posters that they give to the protesters, and then all of this. It's a whole business. I don't have a backer as such. Spontaneously in one go, when the Iranians were being slaughtered, and they came and they called for freedom, and the international media decided not to listen, we Iranian diaspora members and our allies, like the British people, like so many other countries, like the Americans and Australians and Israelis, they got together and they came and they showed support. That's what happened on Sunday, the week before, and the Sunday that just passed, Sunday the 18th. We need support. If British people want to see Britain saved, help us. Help us set up rallies that show the Palestinian crowd, the pro-Palestinian crowd, that England will not be occupied by them, because it's only a matter of campaign. It's literally a matter of campaign. I don't have to do this. I can go and do, my platform is here. My voice can be heard. I'm privileged enough, after all the hard work I've done, I'm privileged enough to have a platform where on international media I can speak about the story of Iran. Me speaking in the streets of Westminster is nothing but a symbolic act of unity with the people of Iran and raising awareness in that sense, and confronting the Westminster crowd who go into Westminster Palace and have the privilege of putting laws in place or suggesting policies that would ensure the safety of the British public. Otherwise, I don't have to do these rallies. I do them because Britain needs saving. So help me save Britain. That's all I can say. Lion Guard of Iran can also be the Lion Guard of Britain. We all love lions because they are dominant. They take care and they don't let anybody ruin their
Well,
family.
Lily, I commend your bravery, and I'm sure everyone watching does. And we're going to keep an eye on everything that's going on in Iran and the protests in London. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much.
I truly appreciate everything, and I'm very thankful for the time you have given me.